Hello, everyone. Welcome to Popcast on the Rocks, episode 114. We're back and we're here to talk about pop culture things that interest us. And sometimes there is whiskey. My name is John, and I am joined, as always, by Andrea. How's it going?
Hello, I am good. Happy Monday. Happy start to the week. If you consider Monday start to the week, we could open
hmm
up with huge debate Sunday or Monday. What's your jam?
Well, I mean, you brought it up, so I feel like you have an opinion.
Um, I do. I feel like the start of the week is Monday. Like I feel like
Okay.
weekends should be packaged together. I know there's like calendar organization where you can order it
Right.
like either Monday or Sunday, and yeah, my weekends feel tied together. And somehow
Okay.
it's, like, weird for my brain to think of, like, the start of the week is Sunday.
Yeah. I mean, I, I don't, it's not a subject I don't know a lot about, not like the days of the week, but
I know,
origins of.
I just sprung it on you. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
man." It just, like, popped up in my brain like, "Oh, happy start of the week." Do you consider it the start of the week?
Yeah. I always usually consider Monday the start of the week, but interestingly, the way I suppose our calendar breaks down, what is a little more astrological in nature versus our what we're going off of now is more of a religious in nature. Like
Right,
we're saying, well, the Sabbath is actually Saturday, but Christians say don't work on Sunday.
Sunday.
So the
Mhm.
start of the work week then because of that is Monday. So
Right,
then hence start of the week.
right.
But really if we're
It's
just
so
gonna,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, our calendars, like, to if you brought it up, like, our calendars always like, weeks look like Sunday to Saturday. In,
hmm
like, a calendar month. They usually
Yeah.
organize it that way, and it just I don't know, kinda messes with my brain.
I know all the days of the week in Japanese.
You
That's
do?
something I know, yeah. That's
Do they I mean, when you're taught, is it just like, we're just gonna start with a random day of the week or go alphabetically, or is it like, we're gonna
No,
start
I
with
just like
Monday?
sought that out. It's just one of those earlier things like we did in Spanish too, learn the days of the week or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's just something that I had on a study guide and it said how to ask what day it is and how to say what day it is and then listed them. And then I made printouts to put on the fridge and then for a while I changed them every day. So every day I could see what it was. So, yeah.
So, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get a little screwy since you brought up languages. So, I took Spanish in high school. Like 4 years of it, I was really into it, I really loved studying the language. I cannot remember the days of the week. But when I was very little, my dad got me like a intro beginner German, and I
Hmm.
can definitely remember the German days of the week,
Okay.
and it definitely starts with Sunday when you learn them.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah.
So, yeah, like
So like
Sunday
the
is
first one they
Sonntag.
introduced to you is a Sunday.
Sonntag, Sunday. Mhm.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. In Japanese it's Nichiyobi. So like
Nichiyobi? Sunday?
Nichiyobi, yeah. hmm
Okay.
But then today, kyo wa getsuyobi desu. So today is Monday. And I always remember that because getsu is like get going, and
Oh,
it's the
okay, I
start of the
like
work
that.
week. So
Yeah.
getsuyobi. But yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, Germans are far less creative. Monday is Montag.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember. Well, really, that's probably more we're not so creative, right? I mean, it's probably
Like
more
Germanic,
Germanic based to
Finnish,
begin with.
romantic-based languages, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they're all, like, close and
Yeah.
variation off of each other in
Mhm.
some fashion. I mean, obviously, you get words that are just, like, completely screwball opposites, but yeah,
Yep.
there's certain things that are, shared common based.
In Spanish, I
Sunday, Monday,
remember,
Montag, Montag. Mm,
I think isn't miércoles Wednesday
that's
and
Wednesday, yeah.
sábado, that's Saturday. I remember that because again, the
Yep,
Sabbath.
yep.
And then I thought I remembered Friday too, but I don't know.
I keep
Anyways.
trying to, but my brain is just like, "Nope, Freitag, that's Friday."
Oh, okay,
That's
yeah.
not Spanish.
Yep. It's tough to get. It's easy to get. Like I'm only fluent in English, I guess. So and even with that limited of other language, it's easy to get things mixed up or forget all of a
Yeah.
sudden how to say a simple greeting and one or the other. So,
Yeah, unless you're practicing all the time, it's just like, well,
hmm,
pieces of it remain and you don't always get to choose which pieces.
yep. Well, one of our drink days could be tied into our discussion of Spanish, the Spanish language. Um,
Indeed. The day that is today. We could work let's do this backwards.
all right.
All right, we're jumping into a new month, August. It is August 1st, and it is Albarino Day, which is a white wine made with grapes found in a certain region of Portugal. So
Nice.
Portuguese,
Okay.
but close to Spanish.
Yeah, I thought I had seen had Spanish grapes as well, but maybe I just read
Yeah,
the wrong
it
thing.
and it certainly could be. It could be just like the one website I looked at was focused more on, the Portuguese origin.
Sure. Yeah. Cool. I am not celebrating that.
Me neither. Okay, moving backwards, Tarantinoing it.
Yeah.
Um August, it is National Coffee Month. So, if you're a lover of the bean, this is your month. Do it to it. Are you celebrating?
No, I mean earlier today I did.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
What functioning adult isn't celebrating? I
Pregnant
mean, I'd like
ones.
to meet you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I definitely did, although it was,
Um,
highly lessened.
yeah. Yeah. Right.
But
Yep.
yeah, I could go a couple of days and then I think about every 4th or 5th day, I at least needed 1 cup.
Okay.
Just couldn't quite let go of it. So,
Yep.
but yes, it is National Coffee Month this August. Get out there and celebrate. Moving backwards into July, the last couple of days, July 27th, National Scotch Day. Are you by chance partaking in that day?
I am. Yes.
All
I am indeed.
right. Good man. Good man.
I'm
What
kind
you
of
got?
doubling it up in a funny way. I'm a little ashamed to show you what scotch I'm using here. So
I'm
I
very
have,
intrigued now.
well, I think I've brought this on the show before, but Tullibardine Distilleries Poly Casks scotch is what I am using for the focus
Yep,
there.
there we are. There we are.
So, but I made it the doubly scotch part is that I made kind of a cocktail with butterscotch liqueur. So it
Nice.
is
Nice.
scotch whiskey and butterscotch liqueur. And then because
Anything
it was
else in there?
just too well, because it was just too sweet, I just this is gonna
Legit.
sound silly. I put a little bit of Coke in it just for that
Okay,
like
sure.
acid,
Sure.
the little bit of
Little
bubbles and
citric,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, it's something
Yep.
abrasive to put in there that's not just as sweet. And yeah, so
Nice.
it's a really a shameful thing I did to this whiskey, but it is a strong drink and it is tasty. So I will be
Excellent.
pacing that tonight.
So when I heard you say you were like doubling up on the scotch, I was really hoping you were just like double fisting some scotch. Since we were talking about Anchorman earlier,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Just keep the bottle
scotch is
straight, and
scotch,
I'll chase it with my
scotch.
scotch drink. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh
Scotchy, scotch, scotch, down into my belly.
huh. Yeah. Well, the other thing I was trying to make happen before I thought of this was like
Mhm.
a tour of the UK. So it's like, okay, we're going to have scotch
Ooh.
in here, and
Yeah.
then it's like, well, okay, I have um, this Irish cream, so that might
Okay.
be interesting. But now, what do I do from England that would fit
Gin.
in with? I know, but that doesn't sound good, right?
Wait, so you were
Gin
trying to
whiskey
do like
with
a tour. Okay, so you
like
were
a
trying to put it
drink.
all
Yeah,
together.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh, yeah.
Once you add
That would be
cream,
rough.
you're limiting, you're
Yep.
going a route.
Yeah, that's a
And
risk for sure.
because otherwise I could have done, gin, well, I don't know. I'll think about it more. It didn't come
Mhm.
together one way or another.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and it's hard, like, when you think of it right before you're, like, struck with inspiration, you either gotta, like, hit it right away, or it's just the longer you think about it, the worse it becomes to
yep,
actually try and do.
yep.
So
Did have you a little tangent, but while we're talking about England and some of that and drinks, have you're familiar with Top Gear
yeah.
television show? And then now
Yeah.
those guys are on the Grand Tour and they do stuff on
Mhm.
Amazon Prime and stuff. So James May, one of the fine gentlemen on there, he has a gin, his own gin.
Oh,
Proper Englishman has a proper English
of
liquor,
course.
and so it's just called James Gin.
Mhm.
And you can find it online. I watched a little video talk about it, and I definitely ordered some. Their
Nice.
little video sold me on it, so I've got some
Quality.
James Gin coming to me, and I wanted to read the thing it says when you're gonna buy it. It
Okay.
says, "Hello, American person, and greetings from little old England. I am delighted that I've finally figured out how to send you my gin. However, your states are not quite united as we can't currently ship to these places. Sorry." And it lists the states. It says,
Oh,
if you live
what
in these
state?
places, I suggest you move. If you're living anywhere else in the US, good news, we can ship to you. So the
What
states
states? Is
are
it quite a few, or is it just a couple?
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So
I mean, that's not
it's like 10
insubstantial.
states plus Puerto Rico and Guam.
That's like almost the 13 original colonies right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Iowa, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Alabama, Alaska, Guam, Hawaii, Mississippi, Puerto Rico, South Dakota, and Utah. So James May would request that if you live in one of these states, you should move.
Okay, well, get
Just
moving.
so you know.
I noticed Minnesota isn't on there, so
I know. I know it. So
that's
anyways.
funny. So all right, I'm gonna tangent us even further, but I hope it's
Hmm.
really quick.
Hmm.
So you were saying that, you're watching Top Gear, guy has his own gin, it's available now. I, while we're on the gin train, was noticing that one of my favorite movies, Simple Favor, is now on Peacock. And so I was like rewatching it for like some, fun, and a little also background noise. And of course, one of the focuses in that movie is the main character and her love of gin martinis. And I didn't realize this like the first time I watched the movie, but every time she makes one in the movie, main character Blake Lively, she uses a certain kind of gin that her husband produces.
Oh, in real
And
life, you mean, or in
yeah,
the show? Okay, real life.
aviation gin.
Ah.
And that's the
Oh,
gin that Ryan Reynolds, yeah, that
yeah.
he backs. And I was just like, I never really noticed this before because they didn't really like highlight it or like, zoom in on the bottle or do it like really flashy. But I just happened to be like kind of, it caught my eye at that particular moment in the movie. And I was like, dang, like,
Yeah.
way to go, subtle product placement.
Yeah.
Like, now
Yeah,
I'm
no, they
curious
probably didn't have
about
to
it.
pay for that one.
Yeah, right? Like, you just
Freebie.
slip it in there. She
Yeah.
probably wrote it in her contract, like, "No,
Mhm.
we're gonna feature a little bit of this here." But,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
it was just one of those things, like, I turned to Chris and was like, "How did I never catch this before? That is brilliant. Great
Yeah.
job."
Well, I know it's not gin day, but I am going to try more gins, getting to be a bigger fan of it just because we have a number of different ones now here, and,
Yeah.
it is fun how different they can be. So, yeah.
Yeah, the last time I went to England, it was a really fun time. Before I'd kind of been trying a lot of beers, um, and the last time I went, I was really into, like, just ordering different kinds of gin and tonic. Like, that's what
Mhm.
they do, like, that's their
Yeah.
thing right now, is just, like, pick your favorite gin, pick whatever gin you wanna try, we'll bring that to you in, like, a large balloon glass, and then we'll bring you, like, a bottle of tonic water, and you mix it up yourself. I
Nice.
love that. That was really fun.
Yeah, and you can get a variety of tonics now too.
Yep,
So you want to
yep,
be really creative with G and Ts with, just the 2 ingredients. So,
exactly. Yeah, it's kinda nice, it's so simple, and yet the taste can vary so much.
mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, are you celebrating Scotch Day?
I'm not. I'm
Oh, no.
not. Oh, no! I mean, there's only one option left, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I have to be celebrating.
Cheese.
But cheese.
Yeah.
Cheese. Cheese whiz, it's drinkable.
Yeah.
Got a glass.
Mhm, mhm.
Gross, no. Not that I wouldn't eat cheese whiz, but I would not drink it out of a glass. I mean, I feel like that's a line, an acceptable line.
That's yep, mhm, mhm.
So, I am celebrating because this is actually part of my dinner. I'm celebrating National Wine Day, but I
Nice.
am also celebrating National Cheese Day. Got a
Oh,
little, like,
wow. You have a little, like,
crostini
crostini?
here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
Ugh,
do. I
I'm
do.
envious. I
A
don't
little
have anything to eat
jalapeno.
over here.
I have, like, a little jalapeno goat cheese and honey
Oh
spread
my
on
word.
crostini.
Jesus,
Yep.
Andrea.
I
You're
mean
taking it up a notch right now.
bam, taking it up a notch.
You needed something for when I'm on a rant, you can just be like here, just like eating. Yep, mhm, yeah.
This'll be 20 minutes
Yeah.
sustenance.
Yep,
No, basically I was just like, well, you know what? This is gonna work out really well because I'm living the life of a single parent during dinner time and bedtime today. So I'm just gonna like wrap it all up into one. It's the show plus my dinner. So
okay. Well, I mean, bread, good for absorbing the alcohol. I hope you eat a
right.
little more than that, though. That's not a lot there. So,
I did manage to have like a packaged salad earlier. Like I managed to
okay.
shove that down my gullet while she was eating. So I was like, you know what? This will just like cap off my meal
Yeah.
because I can't just eat a salad.
I had one of those today too. Man,
Yeah,
it's like a Caesar thing,
those
fancied
are
up.
delicious.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Well, those are the drinks.
Mhm.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
Chug,
Um,
chug, chug, chug. Just kidding.
yeah, definitely not. Wow. I won't make it. Um,
That butterscotch is hitting you, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah. So we got some things we've been up to this week. We'll cover that.
Yes.
Got a fair bit of news stories, some sad ones,
Mhm.
unfortunately, again. Um, I don't think it'd be any big rants for me though, so be safe there. And then we're going to be covering some manhwa, some
Mhm.
webtoons that we've been reading yet. And then in the last bit of the show, we'll be talking about 2 episodes of the latest season of Westworld. So Westworld on
Mhm.
HBO Max, season 4, episodes 3 and 4. So we'll be spoiler free until we get to the webtoons manhwa part, and then we'll
Mhm.
be probably dropping some spoiler bombs. So, but before we get there, what's your week been like?
Oh boy. So I am celebrating a few things this week. Oh, by the way, I thought of what Chris and I were celebrating.
Oh, wow. Okay,
It
nice.
Yeah, it came to me like on the drive home when we were like almost pulling into our garage. I was like, "My god, why can't I?" And I finally remembered what it was. Chris had like no idea what I was talking about until I said what I was talking about, and then he's like, "Oh, right, okay." He was so unhelpful. He just like the whole way home was like, "Oh, I don't know what you're I don't know what?"
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I finally thought of it, so I feel happy now.
All right.
But
Is it something you can share?
oh, yeah, totally.
No.
It's so I remember why I thought it was related to his school and things that
Mhm.
he was doing for school. It's because it's actually about his schooling. He just got the confirmation that, all of his student loans are forgiven.
Oh, wow.
So,
Crazy. Okay. There you
yeah.
go.
So we haven't made, like, the last payment yet, but it just got confirmed that, like, it's happening.
Wow.
So
So, I mean, the lesson being for those that are long time watchers of the show and are
mhm.
familiar with what we're talking about here, you could have
Yes.
had that champagne the other week because Chris would have been none the wise like, what? Celebrate
Yeah,
what?
no, he totally forgot until I said something, and he was like, "Oh, right, right." I was
Yeah.
like, "I don't know about you, but, like, thousands of dollars being forgiven, like,
Yeah.
makes me
Right.
think, like, crack open a bottle of bubbly, like, I
Yeah.
wanna celebrate that. That's
Right.
money in my pocket."
Nice.
So,
Cool.
yes. So, yeah, we were very excited to celebrate that once Chris remembered. And then celebrating another big thing that just happened today. Spoiler alert, worldwide, my daughter took her first steps today.
Oh, wow.
She walked.
Nice.
She
Cool.
walked. And
How
it was
far'd she make it?
adorable. She made it quite far. She made it like all the way across a room.
Okay, nice, yeah.
So, yeah, no, it was quite far. She just, like, up and did it, and it was adorable because it happened while we were visiting a puppy that we might adopt.
Oh,
So,
yeah, so the puppies make one walk.
yep, yep.
Mhm.
Just, yeah, if you're ever worried about your kid and
Run towards
her
the
taking her first
cuteness.
steps, yeah, exactly, buy a puppy, obviously teaches them that, do things for rewards like buying puppies, so.
Yeah. Now you have to take
Parenting
care of
win.
her, okay? You have to take care of the new
Right.
puppy.
My 16-month-old, take
Yeah.
out the dog. I don't care if it's -5 today. You
Mhm.
wanted this puppy.
So so first steps have to count, like, y independent of anything else is what you're saying, right? Not like propping holding on the
Yes.
table,
Yeah, so
because like, you're
propping and
walking with
holding on
her
a
in her
table.
hands.
Right, so yeah, so propping it on the table or, like, furniture is called cruising.
Ah, okay, okay.
Yep, and then, like, I mean, obviously walking with me, like, holding her hand is walking, but it's obviously not
It's
unassisted
assisted,
walking.
right, okay,
Yeah.
yep. Well, nice,
So
cool.
yep. So, yeah, so she took her first steps. That was pretty cool. I was very excited about that. Um,
Nice.
yeah, so it's been a big part of our week. And then celebrating another huge milestone, Chris and I finished all 15 Dresden Files audiobooks on tape.
Nice. On tape,
That
huh?
was
Was
that
there
was
cassette
like,
deck?
oh my god. Oh no, it wasn't. I suppose yeah, it's audiobook, but I keep calling them books on tape.
Yeah,
Like it's
no, that's
just
fine.
so
I
yeah.
understand.
A little old school of me, I guess. Yeah, we finished all 15. It was a big moment so that we could finally start his two latest ones that came out, Peace Talks and Battleground. I've already finished Peace Talks. I've already read it all.
Oh, wow.
Less than a day.
Nice. Very good.
So, yep, I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty like deep in the Dresden world right now. We also, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep harping on this. But Chris was super curious because there was a Dresden Files TV show made back in 2007 by the
Yep.
Sci-Fi Channel.
Mhm.
And I'd watched a couple of episodes and just like could not stomach it. There were so many things that were changed from the books. Like some I think to, fit the confines of TV and some were just like slap in the face. This is an unnecessary change.
Mhm.
Um so I could never like get through the entire, one season that it was produced. But Chris he finally decided he had to watch it. So we watched the first episode last night and he enjoyed, I think, the hate watch more than I did. So he's going
Okay.
to keep going. He's going to keep
Okay.
watching this whole Dresden Files
Wow.
season 1.
I'd heard someone else just bring this up, a YouTuber, and I don't remember what their thoughts were on it, but I thought it was something along the lines of it deserved more of a chance or wasn't as bad as people thought or something. I don't
It's
know.
so I will give it this, like the production quality for 2007 is not terrible. Like,
Okay.
the effects aren't like, "Oh my god, I'm cringing," you know?
Right.
It's the production of the show isn't terrible. What makes it terrible to me is the choice to change so many things.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's, like, changes to the way the main character looks, several different names are changed of characters. One of the side characters is completely different than he appears in the books. There are several kind of, like, backstory things that they just, like, willy-nilly change and don't really give you any sort of reason for it.
Right.
So there's, like, several touchstones that are, like, very important to the characterization of both the books and the main character that they just switch.
Yep.
And it's really tough as a fan to be like, "I'm not seeing the reason for this."
Well, and that's the thing they used to I feel like they used to try and say, "Hey, changes are going to need to be made because we're changing to a different medium. We'll have
Right.
to adapt. But now, because that was just, to me, clearly most of the time just an excuse. To me now, it's like they don't even try that. They're just like,
No,
we're just we're just
this is
changing it.
different.
Just
Yep.
yeah, it's just different. Just deal with it.
Yeah. And
So
it's really frustrating when you think about the things that like didn't need to be changed that
mhm.
are. Like, I mean, several tools. Like, for anybody who doesn't know, Dresden Files centers around a wizard named Harry Dresden. And of course, he's got like several wizarding implements, most of which are changed for the TV show. Like, he's got like a wizard staff in the books. He carries a hockey stick in the
Oh
show for
man.
some inexplicable reason. Like, in the books, he wears like a pentacle amulet that his mother gave to him, and somehow in the show, it's a shield bracelet that she gave him. Even though in the books it specifically talks about the hours that he spends making a shield bracelet.
Hmm.
Or like in the show, he drives a jeep. In the books, he drives an old Volkswagen Beetle. Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and like the Beetle is actually like a central, almost side character. He talks about it so much. And he
Hmm.
talks about why he has to drive this kind of car as a wizard, and, like,
Yep.
there's a whole logic, reasoning thing behind it. The show is just like, "Nope, he drives a Jeep now."
Yep. And see, people making this show will be like, "What's the big deal?" Right? Doesn't But it's because they
Read the
themselves
book!
don't care about it. If you cared about it,
Yep,
you want a faithful adaptation. And
right.
a lot of times the things can you can let a few things like the early X-Men movies, right? So
Mhm,
early X-Men, Blade, use of some of the early comic book movies. Obviously, we had things before, but this is where it was starting to they had the bigger budgets behind them, and
right.
it changed a lot, especially in X-Men. Blade's more faithful, I think, but in X-Men, and I think a lot of us kind of let it go because it was new and exciting. It's like, hey, wow,
Mhm,
we're getting to see X-Men in some iteration actually with a big budget put on the screen. That's cool.
right,
Um, but if we look at it with what our standards have grown to or whatever in a way, it's not we might still enjoy those movies, but I don't think today we give them the leeway that they were graced with then. That was a
right,
benefit of them in a you know, blooming new venture here in the superhero
right.
comic book movie franchise.
No, I
So,
totally agree. I mean, we are just kind of happy with whatever we were given. I mean,
mhm.
I think there would be certain things that, even for those type of movies, like if you brought in Beast and called him like, "Oh no, he's not Beast anymore. He's Blue Fur Animal." Like, no,
Yeah.
you don't get to do that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
there's certain lines that you can't cross. But you're right. I mean, we did give those movies some pretty decent passes. But like to go back to this show, that kind of like transgression is exactly what the writers were doing with the Dresden Files show. Like our main female character, for some inexplicable reason, in the books is short, like built. She is a practitioner of Aikido,
Mm.
and kind of muscularly built, has short blonde hair, blue eyes. In the show, she's like medium height, whip thin, clearly like has no, like physical
Right.
prowess. Has curly dark brown hair, brown eyes, and in the books is called Karen, in the TV show is called Connie. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean,
you
it's the
didn't
same
even
thing
try.
as
You
it's the
didn't
same
even
as
try.
switching the woman in Moon Knight. He was
Yeah,
basically parallel another character in Moon
and then
Knight
called
that
her a
could have
different name.
easily you're right, could have easily just been that person, and they didn't do
Yep,
it. Or
yep,
Triss in Witcher. Just give
yeah,
her red hair. Like
right,
what is your
right.
problem? Like
You did
it's
it
this simple
eventually, like, you
stuff.
couldn't do it right away.
Right.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep. So it's just laziness or people um not thinking it matters or I'd
right,
rather have this person here than what the story says, and
right.
you're all gonna watch
Well,
it
and
anyways, aren't you?
Well, and I feel like, I mean, in the case of Dresden Files, I will not be watching any more of it. I sat through the first one with Chris so he could see how awful it was, and
Yep.
yeah, and I could watch his reaction to being like, "Why?" Um, but the thing is, I never mind changes. Well, I don't say I never mind. I'm less likely to mind changes if you have a reason. If there's, like some showrunners, like we had to do this for logistical purposes,
Oh yeah.
or if like Tris had started out, 2 episodes with different color hair, and then there was somehow like a magical reason for changing her hair that made sense with the storyline, like probably wouldn't be super happy about it, but I'd be less likely to be like, why couldn't you just do it?
Yep.
But
Yeah.
in these cases where like there's nothing and you're just supposed to take it, like that's really hard.
Yep. No, it's like Cowboy Bebop from Netflix. They did this the exact opposite way of what you're supposed to do. So if you're going to adapt something from anime to live action, you understand for most stories, there's going to have to be some changes to
Right,
make it now enjoyable in this new format. One of those things would be like toning down the character of Edward. You maybe wouldn't go like quite as literal with Edward and try to embody a realistic Edward type figure in real life.
right.
And they didn't do that. They seemed to try to go as literal as possible. But then you take someone like Jet and you cast someone that doesn't look like Jet, and then you put him in a broken family. These
Mhm,
are things that are just arbitrary. They didn't
mhm.
need to change for the adaptation. They just did it. So
Yep,
it's all these choices of like, yeah, I understand, but it's sad when they don't even change the things that really should be changed to make
right,
it work in the new medium, and then arbitrarily change the things that could have just been left alone.
right.
So yeah.
You thought you weren't
Ah,
gonna rant tonight,
yeah.
and we did it.
I know. You could have had a bite of crostini there for a minute. Yeah.
I was just
So
thinking that, man, I'm so hungry
wasted
now.
opportunity. Yeah. I'm hungry now. You just describe that to me. I definitely want that. Yeah. Mhm.
All right, well,
Cool.
move us off this ranty path. Tell me about your week, John.
Yeah, I consumed a lot of stuff that I enjoyed this week. I on the channel you can see if you want now a video where I talked about the anime Call of the Night, which is a manga adaptation, quite new, currently airing, and
Right.
I've caught up on the first 4 episodes now at this point, which I think is all that's presently available. It's on the service High Dive, and it continues to be a fun watch. It's a good it's got a little again, it's a quirky humor, and I really like the colors that they use in there, which sounds silly to say, but it's just like the atmosphere they build for this show is nice. It's good. So I'm definitely
Awesome.
liking that. Read a few more comics and webtoons as well, and then Westworld, which we'll talk about,
Of course.
and um, and
Oh
then I
shoot,
saw
I forgot that. Did I watch
yeah
Westworld? I'm just kidding.
yeah And then I saw I didn't watch the prelim stuff, but I did watch the main event. I saw Nunez versus Pena, the rematch, um, on Saturday night. And I
How was
won't
the
say who
sequel?
won because in case someone's listening and they have yet to watch it. It was a good fight though. I enjoyed it. The person I wanted to win did not win,
Oh,
though I like both of them, so it's not the end of the
mhm,
world. But yeah, I wanted to see it because then this next week is I think the finale of Ultimate Fighter, and those two are coaching the separate teams on the Ultimate Fighter show. So the
nice.
show is leading to their rematch, and then
Right.
the like week after we know who won, and they're going to have their finals basically on this Ultimate Fighter show. So it's going to be
Nice.
extra
That's a
heat,
great
for the
lead-in.
person that lost to try to get their team to, so they
Right.
have a victory that in that way. So
Right. No, that's a great lead-in.
yeah,
Smart marketing.
yep. So yeah, that's been my week in entertainment, pretty much.
Excellent.
I did think about playing Horizon, playing some more video games, just didn't manage to do so. would have been good because then I would have used it to lead into this. Um, so Eidos Montreal, Square Enix, they were one and the same.
Mhm.
And recently, Square Enix they sold their Western studios to Embracer Group. And that shifted things around because Eidos Montreal owns stuff like the Tomb Raider IP, along with Deus Ex, and so a store like I think it's more wishful thinking, honestly, at this point from on the point of on the like part of some people. But it's been a rumor for a while that Sony is going to buy Square Enix. And now some
Mm,
people
okay.
involved seem to think that this sell off of Western studios was kind
Mhm.
of a setup to allow for the acquisition of Square Enix by Sony. So that's the story we have here.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's interesting that they would sell off because the Western studios haven't been particularly profitable recently, and
Sure.
so like that makes sense in a way. But at the same time, it seems weird that Sony would want those studios gone when it would be an opportunity for them to like have the Tomb Raider IP, a
Right.
game that was very, important in the brand building of PlayStation. It would be kind of it'd be a win, like culturally for them. It'd be a win, especially when they've lost uh, Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot to Microsoft.
Right. Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, I don't
so
know. I don't know if this is just like you said, just a generation of a lot of wishful thinking or if it's hinting at things to come. Obviously
yeah,
it'll bear watching.
yep, yep. Um, And so yeah, I think this is a good fit. I think Sony buys Square Enix, it makes sense. It's weird that Tomb Raider is just gone, but um, so be it. The story this leads into then is MGM. It's more Tomb Raider news. So
Yeah.
MGM lost the rights to make the Tomb Raider movies,
Mhm.
which is kind of crazy. That I mean, in fairness, that's why we got terrible Fantastic Four movies for some
Right.
time because they had all and Spider-Man reboots galore because of the
Mhm.
deals set up. They had to make sure they're always putting out a movie within enough time. Well,
Which
MGM
really
lost
says something
their
about those deals,
yes,
like, and the shitty nature of those.
yes. I mean, I understand from the perspective of those selling it. You want to be, look, we have a very valuable IP here, and
Right.
we don't want it sitting being wasted if you're not going to do something with it. Like I get
But
that,
like,
but the turnaround's a little,
yeah, it's just it's hard because on the one hand, I totally get that you don't want to see it like shuffle off to die in a dusty corner somewhere. On the other, like, was anything helped by those franchises being like, like having sequels on top of each other? Did good movies get made? Did goodwill, get
right,
engendered towards these franchises on the part of moviegoers because these sequels were just like pumped out?
right,
I don't
yeah.
know.
No, it's
So I mean, I feel like there should be some sort of like better middle ground for stuff like this.
hmm yeah. I mean, again, if Sony had like I feel like Sony is gonna be the bid. They're the ones that are gonna put in the bid because it says here, according to this IGN article, that this has sparked a bidding war in Hollywood with a host of studios now putting in the bids to have the rights to make
Sure.
the Lara Croft films. Sony's got to because Sony is totally pursuing the making they're doing Last of Us on HBO. They're
Mhm.
doing Ghost of Tsushima movie or something. They did the Uncharted movie. They're going all in on this.
Right.
I think it would make sense for them to have this, but I don't know. They don't own the video
I
game IP. It would have been the perfect.
right, right, perfect blend there. Yeah, I mean, again, seems logical to go after this, especially because the last Lara Croft did so poorly. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Did you
Like
ever see it?
I saw, like, a couple of minutes of it, but I didn't, like, actually watch it.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, it was on TV, and I caught, like, a scene of it. Was sort of like, "Oh, right, but I should, like, start this from the beginning." Just never really had the desire.
Okay. I guess it's
So,
yeah.
I can't speak to, like, the quality of the movie. I can only talk to, like, audience
Yeah.
reception, which was low, and
Mhm.
people didn't care. People didn't like it, and people didn't care, so sorry, Alicia Vikander, but, it
Yeah.
sounds like she's out and nobody's sad about it.
Yeah. It's I, I'm sad about the state of Tomb Raider in general, I
Mhm.
guess,
That's
because
fair.
it's been a big again important building block mascot type character for PlayStation back in the day. A lot of fans to this day. But we haven't had a good Tomb Raider movie since I would argue the first one. I think the first one's actually pretty good. It's got its
I do like it
issues and
too.
it's like 90s elements or whatever, but it's
It's
fun.
fun, though.
Yeah, and it feels like it embodies the Tomb Raider games pretty well, really.
Mhm.
Um and I don't know. There's also news recently about kind of the direction that the new Tomb Raider games are probably going in, and it sounds like it might feature more experienced Laura Croft that is sort of leading a team of Tomb
Mhm.
Raiders to like collect and preserve artifacts. And at least the Tomb Raider fans I'm aware of are not thrilled with this kind of direction. Um,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie to you. It sounds like the exact kind of direction that Hollywood would love and true fans of the franchise would hate. Because if you
Hmm.
have Croft leading a team, you get the chance to be like, "Ooh, what stars can we entice to like make a fun group?"
Mm,
You know what I mean?
hmm.
That's such
Yeah.
that's such like a huge thing for them right now is like, let's just get like a bunch of stars together. They're in a group, like cheeky action, witty dialogue, like explosion here, boom, we've got a movie.
Yep. Yep.
That way
Yeah.
we don't have
And
to rely on one person for the star power draw. We can have like a whole cute team. Like
right.
every superhero movie that's happening right now.
Yep. Yeah, so maybe they do this thing where that's the direction the games go, and then they Hollywood takes that idea and runs with it too. I don't know. The fans I listen to, they have Tomb Raider, Lara Croft tattoos and stuff like that.
Mhm.
One in particular I'm thinking of, she's like Lara Croft is to her the ultimate female power fantasy. She
Mhm.
is like she doesn't take any shit. She has a lot of money. She has tons of skills and is really tough and super sexy. And the direction they've taken her in the years since a lot of the earlier games is trying to be a more grounded, realistic sort of approach. And I think that's brought in a bunch of fans, you know, from that weren't familiar with Tomb Raider before. But
Mhm.
for the people that kind of grew up with it, or this was a big deal to them before, it's not the kind of Tomb Raider they were looking for. And so,
Sure.
with things changing hands, there was some hope that maybe we'd see sort of a resurgence of the confident, kind of experienced, not giving a fuck sort of Laura Croft, as opposed to like the sort of student saving artifacts, little less sure of herself, a little
Mhm.
more grimy and down to earth. So,
Sure. Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that in essence. There's nothing wrong with like a grounded character, but you don't have to take it to like extremes.
mhm,
You know what I mean? Like Lara Croft is who she is. She's like confident in herself and her skills and her, wealth in her
mhm,
body. Like
mhm.
she can do all of that and still sort of be like, yeah, I got some issues too.
Yep. And and this distinguishes her from the other things that are kind of like her, So Laura Croft and then uh Nathan Drake are both like
Hmm.
spin-offs of Indiana Jones, really.
Right.
But Indiana Jones, along with Nathan Drake, though there's plenty of comedy and there's fantasy involved, there's still like flawed kind of everyman man,
Hmm.
And so something that separates Laura Croft from them is the, sliding off the back of a Tyrannosaurus Rex through the air with two guns and doing, like it's the next
Right.
level of like unbelievability. And I guess people could make the argument if that will sell today or not. I don't know, but I think there's certainly a,
Um,
a, a fan base that would be interested.
I'm sorry. Has anybody seen any of the Fast and Furious movies recently?
Yeah,
Because
right. Yeah,
they run on unbelievability, and this
yeah.
is coming from a fan of those movies. Like, part of the reason now you go to those is just to be like, "No,
Mhm.
no, this doesn't work at all." Vin Diesel cannot catch a woman flying across 2 bridges, smash into a car windshield, and be like, "Cool, I'm gonna stand up now." Like, nope, nope, nope.
Yep,
But that's part of the fun now, it's just, like, watching that kind of stuff. So, I mean, yeah, there's room to be grounded, but there's also room for, like, what in the world? Like, I'm just gonna have to take it, roll with it.
yep,
If she wants to slide
yep,
off the back of a T-Rex shooting guns, like, go get it.
yep.
It's not the most unbelievable thing I've seen in the
Mhm.
movies.
Well, speaking of, like, unbelievable things, I
Mhm.
guess, um, George Jetson was born the other day, and
Right?
it just reminds me of all the crazy technology that we've gotta catch up on soon.
Right? Right?
So,
Where's my robot maid? Where's my
yeah,
flying car?
Rosie, mhm.
Yeah.
You gotta be
Yep.
I expect in 30 years
Where's
that
my
you can
space
drop
house?
down a suitcase, a briefcase, and it just, like, folds into a car.
Yep. Yep,
So,
please. I wanna be first in line to sign up for one of those. Be so
mhm,
easy to store.
mhm. So, I mean, because why not? Elon Musk should start another business and, just, like, we'll call it the Jetsons or something, and it will be
Mhm.
trying to achieve some of these technologies. Instant hairdo changes, put the
Yes,
thing on,
please.
boom, just switch between them.
Yes. I wanna know what I look like with, like,
Yeah.
20 different hairstyles, like,
Mhm.
test me out.
Yep. So,
Yeah,
happy,
no, I saw that
birthday.
I saw that the other day. It was
Mhm.
just like, "Oh my god, George Jetson's about to be born."
I know. I hope that someone had a child on July 31st
Oh my
and
god.
named them George Jetson.
And,
If
yeah, I was gonna say,
yeah,
if your last name doesn't happen to be Jetson, middle name.
exactly. Right. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
if you never say the middle name, it would seem so normal until you're like, "Oh, what's your child's middle name?" Jetson.
Mm. Mhm, mhm, mhm.
One of the cool people.
So, I just thought that was a fun story.
Yes.
Um, then you found a story that's maybe not as fun? We're starting our
No.
we're starting our s until we get positive again, we're starting our slide
Our
into
slope down.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, so I found an article recently that talks about what on the surface should be fun, which is the slate of content, recent content from Netflix, kind of the big budget movie type things that have drawn some real star power. Most recently, Gray Man got released with Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans.
Mhm.
Red Notice with The Rock. I think also no, that's Ryan Reynolds, not Ryan Gosling. Woo, just mixed up my Ryans. Deadly sin there. Um, and Gal Gadot. I think one of the other ones that they were talking about, moving into the little less fun territory, was The Irishman. And so this
Oh,
article
yeah.
was just kind of talking about like Netflix has really sunk huge gobs of money into these very like flashy pictures that are very safe, very formulaic, and are basically devoid of joy and creativity. They
Mm,
are where they once kind of were a studio that were saying like, "Hey, take a chance on us. Like you got a creative idea, we want to make it. We'll throw money at it because we need new, different, exciting content." And now they're drifting into like almost a parody of um, regular studios. It just
interesting.
to kind of like the nth degree of like I mean, the writer uses Gray Man in particular to talk about like this is terrible. The Russo brothers have like almost no character development, zero plot. They just want to whisk around to like exotic locales. and you could basically substitute anybody's dialogue for insert witty comment here.
Mm.
So, and I mean, as someone who hasn't yet seen Gray Man, I was never really kind of rushing to go see it. I mean, I was interested and I was happy that it was gonna be on streaming, and I was like, "Sure, I'll watch it." Like, a spy movie seems good. Like, I love Ryan
Mhm.
Gosling, he seems to pick good stuff. But, yeah, I mean, I just sort of all that potential kind of died with this article. And I can't say that I could pick out any of the content that this man has picked out and disagree
Sure.
about the state of movies in particular on Netflix. I feel
Yeah.
like they've gotten very safe and very formulaic, and you could apply that to almost any genre. They're, doing romantic comedies that kind of look a lot the same. They're doing like big spy movies that look a lot the same. I mean, they're doing like cutesy holiday movies that look the same like anybody else has. Like, there's no risk. And I think, I mean, this guy hints as to why that's why Netflix is losing subscribers. And again, I can't disagree. Like, out of the
Mm.
thousands of millions of things that I have to watch out there, why give me something that's the same as everything else?
Yeah. I mean, I won't say that Hollywood is creative. Like I mean, this is Hollywood,
No.
but I mean the regular machine that's doing it, like, uh,
But, like,
is it?
Netflix had an opportunity to not be Hollywood,
Yes,
and
right.
they sort
Yeah,
of
yeah,
went with it for, like, a hot minute and then decided, "We wanna out Hollywood Hollywood." We're,
yeah.
like, chasing that elusive, like, we should get into the best picture
Mhm.
category, and I just feel like, a lot of creativity died right there. Like, the moment somebody decided we should get into this for the awards,
Yeah, for sure.
that's where it all goes.
Yep.
Like, I mean,
I
because
think
it's not to say there can't be good content, or, like, you can't take a risk and have something be creative and also awesome. Like, obviously, things like Squid Game happened, and it's
yep,
amazing, and somebody took a chance on it,
yep.
but, like, why that clearly wasn't, like, big budget, sink our millions into the way that, like, something like Gray Man is.
Which is easier to take a risk then, which is a good reason they should maybe do more of that.
Mhm.
Like it's kind of what we're getting with with Marvel. Like every movie, it's
Right.
$200 million plus,
Right.
and that money doesn't guarantee a good movie. Just doesn't.
No, it does not.
Um, yeah, I think part of Netflix's issue with what they're talking about here is, I mean, they've had the reputation of you know greenlighting everything. And so I think that the idea is we need content. We need content all the time. We need a lot, and we're going to get people to come to the service and stay there because we throw big checks at big names.
Mhm.
And if you're too willing to give the Russo brothers however many millions of dollars without knowing a story or having what are you actually interested in telling? What do we got here? If you're just gonna do it right away, then yeah, I suppose that's what you're gonna get. If you just throw money in people's faces without being
Without any
convinced that they
checks.
have a passionate, well thought out
Right.
story here that
Right.
they want to execute on.
Right, they're throwing money without checks.
Hmm. Yep. Throwing checks without checks.
Yep. Yep. There you go. You had it better than I did.
They,
Yeah, so I don't know, I read this article and was just sort of like, yeah, like, I don't know what it is, but I mean, maybe Netflix is the place of vanity projects now,
well,
because
I mean,
that's what
that's that's Hollywood right now. Vanity projects. This like,
right, right, but,
yeah,
like I said, I feel like Netflix is trying to out Hollywood in
yeah.
the absolute worst way.
Mhm.
And I mean, as someone who suffered through every single agonizing minute of The Irishman, could not feel more that that is true.
Mm.
Like, that was just like, "Oh my god, the best part of this movie was the 10 minutes at the end." It had nothing to do with, like, the agonizing 3 hours that came before it.
Mhm. Yeah. I I don't know. they say content is the name of the game for a subscription service, but we already have too much content. What
That's
we
what I
have
was
a
gonna say,
lack
like,
of is good content.
right, that feels so ridiculous that, like, sheer volume is what they would go for because as a subscriber to a substantial amount of services, it is so overwhelming to get into the site and just be like, "Oh my god, I don't even know where to look. I don't even
Yep.
know where to go. I don't even I feel like I can't even choose a genre because there's so many choices in the genre. Like, what am I gonna do?"
Yep. Yep. I
So,
mean,
yeah, I would so argue the opposite. I do
mhm,
not need all this content. It is overwhelming and anxiety producing.
yep. Yeah. No, I agree, and I hope some people learn this lesson. Like, you just need to have, I don't know if it comes from the idea as well that you have to have so many options in different things, because say you're a person that likes Friends, and you really just like Friends and something else that's like Friends. So you need to have for that person Friends and then 20 other Friends
Sure.
like shows, because that person's not going to watch any of these other things, you know.
Well, so that's the thing then, why not then just have like a service be siloed to, the type of content that you're producing? If you want to produce like 20 different Friends shows or 20 different Office shows or 20 different Parks and Recs, like that can go on one like feel good comedy yay channel and then have
Mhm.
another channel be like we're the dark and creepy channel and we produce like, thriller, horror, supernatural suspense, like whatever that is. Like that makes more sense to me than like trying to just like diversify to the point of like madness of like we have to include everybody because then you get nobody. It's the same problem we've mentioned before. Like if you
Mhm.
try to broaden too far, even I mean, we were talking before about within the confines of like a single show or movie. It can really be a subscription service too. If you try to please everyone, you're pleasing no one because you're making shitty content that
Mhm.
nobody's excited to watch.
Yep.
I mean, I think truly there are a number of people, and I mean, I could be wrong about this, but I truly feel that there are a number of people who just want like a really great show that everybody talks about that you can like connect with people and be like, You saw the latest episode of X or whatever, like you saw the latest episode of Game of Thrones." To return to like a huge recent cultural touchstone, everybody wants to talk about it, everybody wants to connect about it.
Yep.
I don't want to tell somebody I watched some random show on Netflix that was like halfway okay.
Mhm. Yep. And I was going to bring up Game of Thrones too, because it was such a cultural moment, and it was a show that's clearly not designed for everyone, but is
Yeah,
appealing to a lot of people.
yeah,
And so that's all HBO needed. And so that's understandable why a lot of people are trying to seek out and make their version of a Game of Thrones, because, but that's perfect proof. People would turn on HBO because they had to have that show. And it didn't
mhm,
matter really if there was anything else on HBO, they were watching that.
right.
That's what they're paying
Nobody
for.
cared.
So if you had a
Nobody cared.
handful of things that were really special, that um, that you don't even have to think about like what kind of audience they're going to reach. You just know they're really good. I
Mhm,
think that's all they're going to need, but that's tough to do.
mhm.
That's harder to do than to just give everybody $200 million that has a big name and hope that because yeah, I haven't watched any of these movies.
Yeah,
There's not been enough of a like stir about any of them saying this is fantastic to
mhm.
bother with literally any of them, you
Yep,
know?
yep, I get
So,
you.
yeah, well, good or good article find here. I don't know if we're going to get any changes, but eventually I feel like these
Maybe
companies are going to have to learn a few
right, maybe
lessons.
with the again, kind of flop or lack of buzz around the release of Gray Man, that'll be a lesson for
Mhm.
Netflix
Yep.
because 'cause they're already feeling like they're skating on thin ice, obviously, they're panicking about losing subscribers, so this isn't the way to gain them.
In these recent days, I feel like usually people just learn the wrong lessons.
I
They do
agree.
learn something, but they learn the wrong
I
ones.
I agree, but, we'll see, we'll see.
Mhm. All right. In a couple legit sad stories here. I think I'm saying this name incorrectly according to the British, but I'll say it the way I would know. Bernard Cribbins um,
Mhm,
of Doctor Who fame has died.
mhm,
He was Donna's dad um, in the series
mhm,
and an incredibly lovable character. that's
mhm.
that's what I know him from. I was definitely sad to hear he died because he does such a great job in that role. Definitely has some
Yes.
of the emotional moments. He's just a great addition to the series, and yeah, too bad he is now gone. But he has, to my understanding, a big history of other stuff he's done. He's well known in the UK.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think that's fairly safe to say, like, we didn't know in his entire filmography because, of course, it's British show based, which, some of it's made its way here and some of it hasn't quite yet, but yeah,
Hmm.
he's, he was such a sweet character in Doctor Who. And of course has, been part of some of the shows, like very emotional moments with David Tennant, who's the, of course, popular 10th Doctor. So that
Yep.
was a that was a real sad story to hear. So
Sorry, grandfather. He's Donna's
grandfather. Hmm.
grandfather. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So sad for the loss there. Makes me also sad for the loss of Doctor Who in general. Just brought that up
Hmm.
again. So
Yep.
yeah. Another big science fiction franchise has lost a historic member of its
Hmm.
cast. Nichelle Nichols, the actress to play Uhura in the
Hmm.
original Star Trek. So she has also passed away now at 89.
Hmm. Yeah, that was again a sad story. She was, of course, a pioneer, as one of the first Black women, especially in a show, not just on TV or anything like that, but on a show like Star Trek. Um,
Hmm.
so that was a pioneering role that she played, and of course, she, literally made history when she had that first interracial kiss with William Shatner. So
Yep.
yeah, just a
Yeah.
trailblazer in a lot of different ways.
And she's, I feel like the cast, some of the cast in the original Star Trek is like, there's stories about him or one way or another, someone's controversial, but everyone liked Nichelle Nichols as far as I was aware.
Hmm.
It's like, it's just always
Hmm.
positive things. She seemed like a positive person, um,
Yes.
and that kind of thing. So yeah, too bad. I am not a big Star Trek person, but I do enjoy the original series. So,
Hmm.
um, and one more sad story. Another death. I feel like we've been
Yeah.
getting a plenty of them. This is a younger person, I believe. I don't know the age. Sometimes these authors stay a little, maintain a little anonymity, and maybe I just am unaware. But there is a manhwa webtoon called Solo Leveling that has
Mhm.
been blowing up, and people are very excited about. And they're now making an anime of it,
Mhm.
and that's all exciting. But the artist for this webtoon series, Jong Sungrock, which his like pen name I guess is Dubu,
Mhm.
um, has died from a cerebral hemorrhage.
Yeah.
So it's pretty shocking, I think. And it did does say here he revealed that he had been suffering from a chronic illness. So
Mhm.
shocking to others, but something he'd been struggling with, I guess, is a health
Yeah. It's
deterioration.
still
So,
too sad.
yep. So it's really sad too when you like don't get to see your beloved thing come to a new audience in this kind of fashion, you know? I'm
Mhm.
guessing he was excited about it being made into an animated form as well, and, like,
Well,
discovering a
yeah.
new audience. So,
It
because it's
sounded
not out
like
yet.
yeah, it sounded I mean, it sounds like it was in the hands of a good studio that they've done Fairy Tale and Black Butler and one other big one that I'm missing.
Yeah,
Um,
Sword Art
Sword Art
Online.
Online. Yeah, I was
So,
gonna
yeah.
say some of the ones that I've really enjoyed as an anime fan. So I mean, that's a great studio. They've put out good work. So yeah, gonna start reading the tune, and you know, we'll hopefully be catching the series when it comes out because
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, it seems great. And it's
Well,
sad
I'll
that it
start reading it then
unfortunately
too.
took yeah, and it's sad and unfortunately took a story like this to get that to my notice. But
Sure. Yep.
hopefully it can be kind of a beautiful celebration.
Right. Yep. All right. Done with the sad
Mhm.
stuff.
But
Uh,
are we?
well, I mean,
This
yeah.
first webtoon here isn't
Uh,
exactly cheery.
yes, but it's fake, so it's okay.
Okay.
It's
All
okay.
right. So we're slowly like ascending
Yes.
out of our
Yes.
black hole here.
Mhm. All right, so spoilers for the manhwa slash webtoon. So everybody calls it webtoons. I understand. It's fine. I think of it like I'm gonna get this be uh, I don't know, squabbling over
Just
semantics
gonna
here
settle
again.
in here.
Yeah. I feel like in my mind, webtoon is the format. And I kind of thought of this more today, and I'll discuss it more on the next series that we're talking about here.
Sure.
Versus manhwa is the just the name of a comic from a specific place of origin, that being Korea.
Okay.
So I know they're interchangeable. I will end using them interchangeably, but I'm thinking more of Webtoon again as a format because there are a lot of people from all over the place that put comics onto a Webtoon service.
Sure. So webtoon is like a specific like platform.
Yeah, well, Webtoon being a comic distributed for online consumption
Mhm.
versus Webtoon, the branded
Mhm.
app for accessing this, versus then the comics that are on there, manhwa, man, manhwa spelled differently for Chinese, and
Yeah.
then like American comics
Yeah.
and manga. So
Okay.
I don't know. This
I will
doesn't
try to
matter.
follow along.
Yeah. Anyways, the cliff. Um, so a short story, taking 3 episodes at a time. We're on episodes 4 through 6. We seem to be intrigued by the first three, but we had
Mhm.
mentioned that it was a little like rushed in terms of
Yeah.
exposition and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What do you think about 4 through 6?
So, I have a couple of thoughts. These panels were even shorter. These episodes, individual episodes, were even shorter than the first 3. And part of me found that intriguing and part of me was like, "That's it?"
Hmm.
Like, that was real quick, and it felt rushed in a different way. Do
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like it was so like this is an episode and it's done. Whereas
Right.
like 1 through 3, like the exposition felt rushed. This I didn't feel anything clunky in the wording or the situations that were happening. That actually the pacing felt very nice, but it was just so short that I was like, okay, I guess I just read an episode.
Yep.
So that was a little like again sort of something that was just off putting a bit. I
Yep.
liked the more natural I can think reveal of information, the reveal of the situation, the things that were happening in these panels, but yeah, there was still an element of feeling off kilter.
Yeah. No, I agree. I should look at the release dates because I would be mad if this wasn't released all at once because it's so.
Well, it's not though.
Was it released over time?
Well, sorry. So if you're the average viewer who's not gonna like sink your
Ah,
coins
gotcha.
into it, I mean, it isn't released all at once because you only get like the first couple, and then you have to do a daily pass in which
Right.
it forces you to slow down. So you can't just
Yes.
like binge through unless you're gonna spend some coins.
Yes. Which I would. I mean, if I was like being frugal about it, I would be bothered spending coins for something so short.
Yes.
You know, uh,
Yes.
I just like because I wanted to. I'm like I didn't want to. I waited to read these until today because I didn't want to read
Yep.
them right away early and then want to keep going and forget what I read or something like that.
Yep.
So I just, I paid for whatever today and stuff. And but yeah, I was thinking like it's not a that was not worth my coins,
Mhm.
you know, because it's
Mhm.
not enough. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, the situations are intriguing. I felt more deeply invested in the philosophical questions, in the
yeah.
middle fifth episode where, we get revealed, and spoilers are happily up there, so nobody can get mad at me. Um, we get it revealed in the fourth episode that our one of our protagonists has been rescued
Hmm.
by chance. And that was exciting. That was, interesting and frustrating and all of the things because, of course, we don't feel that he's deserved it. Um,
Right.
but he gets rescued, and then in the fifth episode, it reveals that it wasn't even his own ingenuity that got him off the mountain. It was the fact that someone was coming to look for his hiking partner, whose father had died,
Yeah.
and so it was just like tragedy upon tragedy. And then, of course, this guy feeling horrendously guilty that like all of these things had happened. Like, you know, and he really feels like he's still stuck back on that cliffside. And it's just such a great question of like, did his rescue even matter if he can't like ever live with himself or
Yeah.
push past the experience that happened?
Yep.
Like, was that rescue like a waste?
Yeah. No, it's a good question. There's been some stuff in the news or whatever recently and other things where I sometimes think like, man, could you live with yourself? Is that worth it now? And so yeah, this guy's going through that. And then our cliffhanger in episode 6 again, uh with the photo,
Mhm.
the photo taken. Oops, maybe he drug his buddy down and it wasn't the same kind of tearaway whole cliff thing that had been remembered.
Yep. Yeah, so,
So
like, morality and memory are
yeah.
funny things that can kind of waver and play tricks on you, and
Hmm.
they're not what you thought they were.
Hmm.
I mean, obviously, memories can feel distorted from one person's point of view, but also your morality can. You
Yep.
might think you know what they are, and then you get into this situation, and it's a lot different than what you thought.
That's why it's good to think about these things. You
Yeah.
really find out, like best where you can land with your morals. So hopefully if you get in a terrible situation like this, you're firm enough in those that you respond expectedly. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm enjoying it. Just I think it probably should be 3 episodes long in total or
Yeah,
something. Um, Something like that. So,
I
and you
agree.
you mentioned it too in your notes here. I didn't know if I was reading something wrong. It's like the repeating
Oh,
moments, or if that was
yeah.
intentional somehow. Like, wait a minute, I just read that exact thing. So
I
it's even
don't think
shorter.
so.
Really, you just cut that out,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
so
I can't imagine. Like, the first time I saw it, I was like, maybe he was, like, driving something for emphasis,
yeah,
and then I saw it again in the next one, I was like, "No, this is a mistake."
yeah. Hmm. So, all right. Well, that's the cliff. Next week we can talk about the finale.
Yeah.
Um, Now maybe meant to be. So these
Yes.
are much meatier episodes.
Mhm.
Again, episodes 4 through 6. Again, spoilers. Maybe meant to be. What'd you think? I mean, I think we both came away from the first part, 1 through 3,
Yep.
pretty positive.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'm gonna say positive again for these episodes. I felt like there were some great, like, familiar steps in this kind of, maybe friends to lovers, we're in like a fake relationship and pretending it's real kind of thing. There's some great like expected next steps, like drawing up a contract. That's, pretty standard, like these are our like rules for being
Hmm.
together. So that was a lot of fun to see like what was going into their like particular contract. Although as a grown ass adult, I was also like, come on, guys. Some of this is just like super unrealistic. I guess you have to live through living together to figure that out. But
Yeah.
like one of the no, I think we both had it. Like the no forcing anything meant no say in the other's personal life. It was like,
Yeah.
okay,
So you're on
come on,
heroin and you like, just like,
you don't get
oh,
to say
well,
anything.
I signed the contract. So,
Right? Punch your dad in the face, not gonna
yeah.
say anything. Like,
Hmm.
come on. So, it was a little like, this is unrealistic.
Hmm.
And I get where they're coming from, but it's not translating as a
Well, it
grounded
shows
thing.
to me. It just shows their naivete in this.
Yeah,
They're young. They do not have the experience in the dating world, let alone really living with anyone other than their family, pretty much,
right,
or by themselves. And so yeah, like I can see I can see plenty of people not thinking this through enough and not thinking about what this really means
right,
when they write it. They have something in mind when you're saying something, you're writing it down the list and then not thinking of what that all implies in
right.
many other things or whatever.
I mean,
So
and as a reader, I was a little annoyed that like no forcing anything ended up being like translated into like no say in the other's personal life. I was like, that isn't the same thing.
sure.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I
Like,
wonder what it was originally in
it was
like
just like a
original
weird,
Korean.
right, it was just like a weird phrasing of, like, no forcing anything is vastly different, in my opinion, than, like, for Chris having no say in his personal life.
Hmm.
Like, if he didn't want me to force anything, that would be different than, like, if he wanted me to have no say. Because I could bring something up in a very casual, like, or, like, "Hey, I'm just noticing something. Take it or leave
Hmm.
it.
I'm
Bye."
noticing your
And
feet
that
really stink, like
"Take it or leave it.
you gonna
Bye."
do something? But then forcing, it's like, hey, no, you have
I'm
to
putting your feet
use
in this bathtub
yeah.
and, here's some,
Yeah.
like, Gold Bond foot powder, and we're doing this. Like, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's just sorry, I was sticking on that a little bit, I think, because the first episode was so much about the contract that I was like, "Mm."
Hmm. Yep. Um, I'm still enjoying the humor in this. I
Mhm,
still like um we're getting to know these characters and they are always a little surprising at times.
mhm.
The she's like, "What are you looking at me like this? I'm gonna get a job soon." And then as soon as he leaves, like, ha, I'm not getting a
"I ain't
job
getting
as
no
long as
job."
yeah. So it's like, oh, they're not, yeah, not particularly responsible there. But his breakfast was funny. I almost thought about doing some sort of drink that looked like a veggie smoothie thing or something,
Protein shake,
Yeah,
yeah.
thought about doing
That
some of that.
would've been good.
So the other thing I'm appreciating about this series so far, and this is what kind of made me think of like Webtoon as the format, is
Yeah,
and others have done this. It's just I hadn't really thought of it this way before. Is comic books are good for like traditional comic books. They're always good for the kind of verticality of a superhero or something. They make perfect sense for that low, high angle shot of of a superhero to make them look imposing and strong and stuff like that. So those pages work well for that, and or a wide spread, double over 2 pages, big epic battle scene or something like that.
totally.
Um, Manga is kind of a similar way, it's but Webtoons is changing that up, and you could tell where on some of them, they're comic books put into this format. Like
Mhm.
they're really written and drawn and put together by someone that
Yes.
had the familiarity with what comics are in
Yep.
that sense. And now I see a lot more, and this is a good example of it to me. This manhwa that understands it's going to be read on a phone and it's playing to that. It's formatted as such. Like we get nice big full screen shots to call out specific emotions or things or whatever at
Mhm.
times. We're really not going panel to panel. It's not like structured in that way. Like it's really it's different and it is an enjoyable way to read, I think, when it's done well.
Mhm.
Whereas some of the other stuff I've read was like, this isn't enjoyable because it's like a comic book shoved into Webtoons format. That
Mhm.
makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think there's something about this team's ability to tell a story in an intimate but also larger setting that it doesn't feel unnatural to flow between the two on a phone screen, and they really take advantage of all the space that they know is going to be on that screen.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's a really close up zoomed in moment and sometimes it's farther back, but every part of the space feels well used.
Yep. Yep. Because it's like I thought it was a good contrast with the cliff and this even. The cliff has a
Mhm.
lot of like
Yeah,
word bubbles, in there and stuff and smaller panels and stuff. You're not
very
it's like that
small.
would make sense in a comic book big, whatever
Mhm.
11-inch kind of thing, but not so much here. So
Yep. Yep.
we also get some new characters we're introduced to in
Yeah.
this. So we have
Smoothly
it
introduced.
what's
Like,
that?
well, you know what I mean?
Oh
Smoothly
yeah.
introduced. Like, they don't feel like shoehorned in, like, suddenly somebody has a best friend you never knew about. It's like, these are
Right.
our main character's coworkers. Like, he has to go back to work after his honeymoon. Of course, we would meet these people.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Agreed. And then the way the manager was introduced was fun too. Like we didn't know she was
yeah.
in the car and then like, "Oh, what?"
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, and then we get, like, a whole backstory about her, like, search for, like, the average guy.
yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mhm.
Oh, I really enjoyed that. That was very fun.
Yeah, and her definition of that over the years.
Changing, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
checking in on different versions of her who were, like, insanely impressive,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it felt like as she kept going and going and, like, getting more impressive, like, her standard got lower for, like, what was a perfectly average guy
Mhm.
that she could
Mhm.
have, and I was just like, "Come on,
Yeah.
girl, like, you knew better."
Mhm. Yeah, and their interaction between her and is Suyeon So and
Mhm,
her and the subordinate Sang Choi is great because she's like checking in with him, like he doesn't have
mhm,
any prospects, right? And he
yep,
seems to be reporting back, no, he doesn't seem like he's interested in women at all. So
yeah,
what a shocker now. And I
yeah.
feel bad for her. I feel bad for her. So
Yeah, I like the way that everything was set up here. I mean, there was a blend of like empathy and humor. Like, you were talking about the subordinate checking up on him. He's like, "Look at these guns I sculpted because this guy only goes to the gym, and that's the only place I could go with him."
yeah,
He's like,
yeah,
"You think I did this for fun?" Like,
yeah.
no. So that was really fun. And then, of course, like meeting her and getting her backstory, and then kind of having her like again, dream of the moderately okay guy being crushed and shattered. You felt for her. You got her like anger, her
Hmm.
sadness, but then you also got like a maybe hint of a love square in like maybe she was pining after our main character, maybe the subordinate's pining after her, maybe there could be something there. But if there isn't in the future, I'd also be okay with it. But it was just enough of like a maybe something to be like, this could be a lot of fun. Watch all these
Yeah.
characters.
What if they end up seeing like, hey, this marriage is kind of contractual, and so
Yeah,
we're sort of like, whatever. But then introducing this other woman kind of makes them realize this actually is pretty upsetting. Like, no, this
right,
person's mine, and like, so it could create that kind of
right,
blossom their relationship further in the marriage and make it more like a real marriage. So,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, it's I mean, that's very classic, kind of tropey,
yeah,
um, will they or won't they? in love stories, and if it's done right, it can still be really fun. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
so far these authors, the author and the artist, have made me trust that they're going to handle things well.
Mhm. And then we're ending on, I thought, a great scene where it's so Young Yuso is like, who is this woman? Who would be the one to garner the attention, And then she like peeks around the corner and sees she's sitting there like crouched down with a cigarette, looking kind of like crazy. Like, that's who you fell for? Wow.
Yeah.
So I
And she
like
said
that moment
something
too.
like "you again" or "you came back" or something.
Oh,
Or
really? Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So very abrasive kind of sort of attitude
Yeah.
towards him.
It was it was such a weird, like, random thing to say.
Hmm.
Let's see, I think I have it pulled up.
I'm sure they're going to observe
Oh,
some
she says,
some.
"You're back. You're
Okay.
back." And she says, "Huh?" So, we'll see what
Yeah.
that's about.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm excited to keep reading. It's been hard for me to not keep reading, knowing we're just doing the next 3 per
Yep.
week or whatever. But at the same time, we'll catch up very quickly.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is.
And then we'll
So
be
yeah.
those people who are, like, waiting each week.
Yeah.
Countdown to Sunday.
Mhm. But I feel
Mhm.
better about this one because so far each episode has been more substantial, more
Yes.
substantial. So
Yeah.
it's yeah. All right. That's been maybe meant to be manhwa on the Webtoon platform. So if you're interested in following along, download Webtoons on the App Store or Google Play. It's free to do so, and yeah, pick it up. Now to a more serious show, I suppose. Not short of romantic encounters, I suppose, as well
Yes.
for storylines. But Westworld season 4. It's been a few weeks now, but we talked about the first 2 episodes previously. So feel free to go back and watch those. But right now, we're going to be discussing episodes 3 and 4.
Yes.
Um, what do you think?
Um, I enjoyed these episodes a lot. I thought they were well put together, taken as a pairing, because a lot is happening in 3 that gets a payoff in 4.
Right.
So, and a lot of things from this season are starting to make sense, and I'm excited about them. So, I really felt like episode 4 was such a great story with a twist that I did not see coming until it was happening, and I guessed it, but I wasn't mad that I guessed it. I was very excited that I guessed it.
Okay. So describe to us. So spoilers, obviously, but
Yes,
what are you
yes.
referring to here?
So from the last episode, we have Bernard and Stubbs, who are meeting up with a very random seeming woman in the parking lot of a diner, going off with her and like getting in with her crew, and just kind of being like, oh, we're gonna go with them because Bernard just knows what has to happen now because he's like a Cassandra that people actually listen to. So yeah, so they go off with her, like join up with her crew in the middle of of a desert, seeming nowhere. Um and they're telling her like we can help your people, like we can help your group. Like Bernard's like I know where a weapon is that you're searching for. I know what you're looking for. I got this. And you're like, "Okay, cool, random." Um so they finally get the chance to go out into the desert, and we slowly by turns are getting this storyline of like uncovering the weapon with what we learn in the episode is a flashback to another point in time. Yeah, here we go. Reveal right here. That Bernard is actually living sometime in the future of the events that we've been watching unfold between Caleb and Maeve. And Bernard is out in the desert with Caleb's daughter Frankie digging up Maeve, who we see and we don't know at the time, but you're kind of, sort of starting to guess it.
Yeah.
She's back in a previous time period. I'm guessing like 10, 15ish years by the age of Frankie at this point. Um,
Right.
was in the new faux Westworld, Temperance, the Roaring Twenties, with Caleb, tried to get out, ended up sacrificing herself so that Caleb could get out, by setting off a bunch of charge mines and burying herself under a massive pile of sand, which in the present moment we just see as desert. But as we're moving forward with the Caleb and Maeve storyline, we see they're actually in what used to be Westworld.
Yep.
So
So
I did not know that this was gonna be like a flashback and forward until it was happening, and it was in the middle of it, and I was just realizing that Bernard saying he's gonna dig up a weapon and realizing Maeve was about to bury herself. It's like, "Oh my god, he's digging up Maeve. He's digging up Maeve. That is Frankie. I know it is, even though they call her C, and it was Frankie, and they were digging up Maeve, and I was like, "I'm not mad about this. This is awesome."
yeah. No, I agree. I didn't think about the Maeve thing until pretty late on that they what they were
Yeah,
digging up was Maeve. I definitely the first time I saw her, I'm like, that's Frankie. I think it was something with the transition that they
sure.
did between the stories where we are just like, I think I don't know if we were seeing Frankie escape or something, and then we cuts to this. I'm like, okay,
Sure.
because we had that was the thing that was puzzling me before was Bernard. Like we ended season 3 with him putting on this device, zonking out, and then waking up covered in dust. So we
Right,
knew a a large amount of time had passed. Yet now we're getting Bernard here. Like what is happening? So
right.
we had to do something with this time jump. And yeah, I
Such
think
a
it
good.
was yeah, it was well put together. It's well put
Mhm.
together. And I'm really as I was sitting there, as soon as I thought that, and then we're watching Bernard and stuff go along with Stubbs, I'm like, so what is the world like now? Like what
Yeah.
has happened? And so it's interesting we see now at the end what it's like, and we assume, right, that um Dolores and Teddy are in this time,
Ah,
right?
mhm.
Are in the present that's been taken over, basically.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that she's in either the present or even potentially another future because she
Okay.
can't be in the past
Right.
because she's drawing these things that are clearly in Caleb, which bah, reveal he's a host now. Um it's in his and Hale Loris's present. Because we get the flash at
Yeah.
the end of episode 4 where they've built this terrible tower that's, a
Oh.
a controlling
s-
device that she draws in, like, a picture, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know what this is." It's some crazy
So it's
thing, but
earlier.
so they've erected this tower that she's drawn.
Hmm.
So, yeah. So I don't know I still don't know exactly where she might fall in a timeline, but she's clearly not in the older timeline where Caleb and Maeve were walking through Temperance and like
Yep.
going through, new old Westworld and going on
See,
that adventure.
you talking about that makes it perfect sense now. I think it's we're dealing with three different time periods,
Mhm.
and Dolores. I'm just gonna what's her name in here now? I'm just gonna call her Dolores. Really,
Christina. No, it's
Christina.
okay. I do think of her
Uh,
as Dolores.
yeah.
I
So
wrote in my notes and then I had to like change some of them to Christina and I was like, oh God.
yeah, it makes sense that this is the Halorus's plan is in the stages of execution
Mhm.
while we're watching her, because
Yeah,
it would make sense that some people are starting to realize they're being controlled because the people are coming that's what never made sense before. Like they're coming to her saying they're controlling. You're why are you writing this thing, and then they do it. Well,
right,
that's people seemingly understanding that they're
right.
being made to do stuff, and some of
That's
them
Hale working out the
maybe
kinks.
yeah, whereas some of the adults are not as influenced as easily and some of that. So
Right.
there's errors, and then yeah, the signal being sent out. So the other hosts, how do they see this? And so representing it in her drawings in that way. And
Mhm.
so yeah, we're still gonna, it seems, get to see the minutia more of how we get to where things are. So like I wonder if we're
Right.
gonna get for a while be dealing with that kind of time period to work up to, yeah, hey, the whole world's taken over
Right.
by the machines here, by Hale.
Right. And I did enjoy the nod to, we come out of Caleb just realizing like what's happened to him, and that, he's in an interview with Hale Loris, establishing a baseline. Um,
Yeah.
oh, that was really good. Some excellent acting, but some excellent writing as well. And he, runs out totally panicked, and you see him run past the front desk of Olympiad Entertainment, which is, of course, the company where Dolores Christina works. And of course, would tell you why people are like coming up to her, being like, "Why are you writing my life?" And,
Yeah.
she literally is. And I thought that all along, but I really like the way that they revealed it. It
Mhm.
was well done.
Yep. Yep. It's yeah, I'm just happy because whereas the last season did give us some fun things to think about,
Hmm.
it was purely because of the subject matter and not because of the execution. And this is
Yeah.
like enjoyable to watch because of the execution here.
Yep.
Um, things are paying off. I mean, we're 4 episodes in, and we've just gotten some answers. Like we didn't have to
Hmm.
wait forever to understand that we're going and viewing different uh points in time.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been good. And I,
More,
I feel
more
like
confirmation that the flies were a thing, and like, look out, they're infecting everybody. Like,
mhm,
I
mhm.
like it.
So, I guess a complaint I had is I don't know. I still don't know if I love the relationship with Stubbs and um, Arnold. Um, it's
Oh, Bernard
it's
Arnold. Yeah.
Bernard. Yeah, it's fine. I just I don't know. I didn't like them together very much in the last season, and so maybe I
Hmm.
will more in this one. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. And then I was a
Yeah.
little yeah.
Sorry, just to pause on that. I agree with that. Mostly because they really haven't done anything like to bond them together in any
Right.
particular way. I mean, they had like a fun little moment where like Stubbs was in the diner eating his tuna melt and playing a cool song, and Bernard was outside kicking butt, but like, could have been anybody.
Yep.
So hopefully, like, I'm excited that they have like something meaningful to do right now,
Yes.
and they're going to interact with Maeve, which, is not interactions we've seen really before. So that this feels fun in that it's purposeful for them, but yeah, like, their relationship isn't particularly focal.
Some bloke named Chris in the chat is says I have questions about Christina's roommate. She was
Yes,
weirdly persistent about her meeting to Teddy. Nothing,
which
something.
happens. Yes,
Yeah.
totally, totally. I definitely also had that in my notes. Um, where did
Like
I have that?
I was
Yes, well,
taking
it's so obviously a setup. It's so obviously a setup. Like, she was super pushy about her needing to go out. She set up her date with Teddy and then just, like, watched. She, like, didn't go out.
yeah.
She didn't behave like a
Right.
normal
Which she said she
person,
really
like,
needed to go out, but she didn't.
yeah, like, that means, like, you need to go out and, like, have a drink, get your flirt on, like, whatever it is you need to do to, like, let off steam. You don't just, like, creepily watch your roommate have,
Mhm.
obviously, a very intense interaction with their date.
Well, so if we've established that potentially during this time the they're they're working on ceding control of everybody, but they are working out some kinks yet. And so some people are having some problems. Well, her roommate having like nightmares again, acting very odd, feels like she's being forced to do this. So she's probably
Mhm.
infected and doesn't
She talks
exactly
about
know what's going
flies in the
on.
food.
Yep. So
Come
she's
on.
infected and is is being made to set her up with Teddy, but for why? Why?
Right.
It's like, is this a
Right.
thing for Hale? Like, is this a Christina needs
Mhm.
Teddy to like be who she wants her to be? Or is it like going to
Mhm.
be a ploy of revenge, like try to bring back some memories and then rip them away? Or
Sure.
there's got to be a point, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things I feel like was great about these few episodes is it really showed us Hale Loris's potential for planning and being a villain because it seemed initially like Maeve and Caleb were getting away with this and they were kidnapping her and she was going along and wasn't like resisting terribly much. So you were
Yeah.
like had this like sneaking suspicion that there was something else happening, but I didn't see it happening on this level
Right.
and that she was, like, talking to the 278th Caleb, who was she was establishing a baseline, and she just, like, overwhelmingly crushed this, like, tiny bit of rebellion and resistance.
Yep.
Um, so it really showed us her potential for planning, playing along, playing the long game, and just overwhelmingly winning.
Yep.
So that's what makes it exciting to think about, like, is she behind this? Because what kind of game is she playing and thinking she's winning?
Yep. Yeah, because you're right earlier when you said that these two were good to watch together. Because if we had, say, watched episodes 1 through 3 and then waited to watch 4, there were a lot of unanswered things. And as you mentioned, I put in my notes too, like a lot of not struggle. Why couldn't you escape from the back of that vehicle? All these sorts of things. Like, well, I was like, would the handcuffs really even hold her? All this,
Right.
and then it makes sense. Yes, of
Yeah.
course. It's set up. Even going around underneath Westworld, it was like, where's the security? Where are the cameras? Like, why is there no alarm going off and people running in to deal with these intruders? Clearly, well,
Right.
because it's set up. So,
Right.
yep, yep. You called out the soundtrack. Good. Yep.
Yes. Oh, so good. Yeah, episode 3 was a lot of fun in, bringing the familiar back in new ways. We're basically in Westworld. Temperance is
Hmm.
Westworld. The same storylines just with like different faces. So it was fun to see those, but also like kind of frustrating to see these like low rent versions of the characters that like we
Oh
already
yeah.
knew.
Right.
So that was weird. And I did appreciate, I'd been kind of down on Caleb and like needing he felt more useful this season, but not
Yes.
quite up to his full potential. But I was impressed with him just being like, God, Maeve, you had to live through this shit. Like, ugh. Just sort of, like, expressing that solidarity of, like, "My god, these were shitty storylines for people to write for you and for you to live
Hmm.
through."
Hmm.
So, it was fun to kind of watch this, like, secondhand version play out and Maeve get a little bit of, bit of vengeance or kind of working it out of her system being like, "Oh my god, I'm so far from here now."
Yeah, I think that, speaking to the characters and what they're all up to, I feel like it's a lot more of an honest um like path for all of them to be on. They all feel a little more
Mhm,
useful, all makes a little more sense than
mhm.
last season, where last season we did have, we see now it was leading to something. There's so much wasted time with Bernard and stuff. It really was not
Yes,
particularly engaging. We don't know what's going on with this. And I feel like everybody has a purpose now and something meaningful to do. And so I'm not bored by anyone's storyline, which can be a thing sometimes when you're juggling this many.
agreed.
It was fun to see another familiar face at the beginning of 3 when Bernard was yet in, I forget what they call it exactly, but in his
Oh, the
like
device. Yeah,
yeah, when he was in basically the world established for hosts that,
mhm. Yeah,
I
like
I don't
Valley
if
Beyond. I
yeah.
forget what they call it
Mhm.
though. Yeah, totally.
So it's fun to see him and how he said a year in the physical world is a millennia there.
Mhm. Which is
So
why Bernard is like, "Hey, I know everything."
yeah, he's like pulled the ultimate Doctor Strange, right? It's
Right?
like
Been
see
through
all
all
the
of these scenarios, sees
yeah.
how they all play out. Yeah, I love
Hmm.
how bits of that are, like, playing out, um, with Stubbs being like, "Hey, we're in the midst of, like, this gang who's about to shoot us, like, tell me we're not gonna die," and he's like, "Yeah, most of the time we don't."
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
just it's great little, like, throwaway, but not quite throwaway comments like that, that really just, like, make you appreciate, like, it's kind of a funny moment, but also, like, continuity. I very much
Yep.
enjoy that.
Yep. Yeah, Bernard's definitely it's a little whiplash for how he was in the last season, how he is now. But I guess we're supposed to take that as sort of a this is the
He's
effect
been in there.
that's had on him, yeah, after seeing so many possibilities for the future.
Mhm.
And it'd be interesting to talk a little more, or to for the show to discuss more Bernard's motivations here and stuff. Like what
Mhm.
is it, to reaffirm for us why this is important for him to do and why he cares about humanity in the way he does.
Right. Well, and I mean, it's kind of a dual purpose of caring about humanity and being the failsafe. Because last season, I feel like we thought he was out to stop Dolores, and he
Hmm.
still sort of is. He's
Yeah.
just out to stop a different version of Dolores.
Right.
He's out to stop Halores now.
Hmm.
And like why that's been kind of like a fail safe for Bernard
Right.
to be the person who's doing this.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it easy? Wouldn't it be easy? I think people are getting to this point, or some of them, anyways. They're really kind of nihilistic. And wouldn't it be easy for a machine to be kind of the ultimate version of this? Like, what's it really matter what happens?
Right?
What does it matter what happens to humans, to the world? Like, what in the grand scheme of things? Who cares? What's you know,
Sure. Well, and I mean part of it could be a question of why does it matter that humans are okay and why are we saving humans? Or part of it could be a question of, how important is it to me that hosts, machines, my people don't become what humans were to us, you
sure,
know? So much of the couple of focuses I think in these last few episodes have been like Maeve is like, oh God, like I had to live through these storylines, and Caleb's like, oh my God, you had to live through these shit storylines. And then in this episode 4, Hale is talking about, like I prefer to call these humans that have been infected hosts. So it's very much in like on the nose, like
right,
role reversal. And then there's another there oh, um, like Hale is, talking at the end and she's like, "You guys started doing this to us first. So now I'm just, flipping the switch and doing to you what you did to me." So it's very much like we are now in control, which she sees as a good thing, and I think Bernard is maybe like saving humanity would be really nice and a bonus because they have potential, but also I would really like it if hosts weren't the old versions of humans.
right,
Do you know what
yeah,
I'm trying to say? Like,
yeah,
there's something about,
yeah. To
like,
keep a consistency,
protecting.
like understanding how it feels to have your existence
Right,
be in
like,
this
nobody
form,
should be doing
and
this. I don't care if it's
right,
humans doing it to hosts or hosts doing it to humans, nobody should be doing this to another being.
right,
And
mm,
he's sort of like and I could be projecting here, I could be speculating, but it's certainly a possibility to consider that Bernard is like, "Just nobody should be doing this."
right. But when does that get tiresome for Halores? Um, it's like, well, I got you. I'm doing to you what you did to me. When is that no longer fulfilling? And
Which
now
is a great
what's the
question,
purpose?
right?
You
Like,
know?
isn't that a great question? Like, once you've
Mhm.
gotten everything you wanted and you're crushing everybody beneath your boot, like, how long is that satisfying?
Right. Yeah.
How long can you make that last? Or, is it going to be satisfying for a while and then Bernard goes up against her and she's like, okay, now I can find satisfaction in that. If she defeats him, like, who's next?
Yeah. I mean, maybe I have to rewatch some other stuff or whatever because it's the need to establish what is important to and how they conceptualize what's important to each host, each
Hmm.
machine. Because for a human, we look at a human, it's like, okay, your base, you know, purpose when it comes to like instinctual and stuff, it's for initial things, immediate things like pleasure. Your DNA is telling you to reproduce. Those
Hmm.
kinds of things are like the just driving core factors of
Hmm.
humans and life. What is it for a host? And humans give themselves further purpose and meaning, by adding on other things like religion or something like that. But the hosts, why? That's like the question I want answered by this season. Why
Hmm.
the struggle? So if it's like Bernard, like you say, just for in his programming and the way his personality has been designed, like I don't like to see this kind of injustice.
Hmm.
And I don't know. Yeah. It's
Well, that's kind of a fun thing about this season is it's giving us hosts that are so human-like that they seem to have different motivations. Like if Bernard's motivation is, I don't like injustice no matter who's carrying it out, and I don't want to see, my particular people or people that I've created when I was human, perpetrating this kind of cruelty. That's his motivation, maybe. Halloris's, security. I think, the feeling of, I'm on top of everything and I can protect everyone and I can serve out my vengeance because I have control over everything. And that gives me security and comfort and power. Christina, I mean, she is Dolores. She isn't Dolores right now, really. So I'm going to take her as her own, like, separate entity for just a minute. She says, like, what's important to her is telling stories, like meaningful stories. That's what's
right.
important to her, connecting with others through, storytelling. Um, for Maeve, I think there's a sense of curiosity and connection and the protecting, mortality as this fragile, beautiful thing because she had
Mhm.
her daughter taken away from her, like she talks about in episode 4. She couldn't help herself. She realized, how fragile and fleeting and beautiful Caleb's life was because it was more mortal. And she couldn't resist checking in on him and seeing how he was doing and, kind of touching that beautiful spark once more. So there's kind of a humanity that we're getting as a base storyline for all of our hosts this season that's really
Yeah.
blending, I think, a great line of like, who is what and what does humanity mean again? We're kind of back to some of those core concepts in very different ways.
Yeah. That makes me think of like two things. So one is the difference between someone and their motivations when they know what they are, and so it's put
Mm-hmm.
together in a really like literal way in this where
Yeah.
Christina, she thinks she knows who she is in a way, but maybe she's a little unsatisfied or wherever she's going through
Hmm.
life, but she doesn't understand really who she is. She doesn't understand she's
Right.
synthetic, she's not a human or whatever. So how does that change your motivation when you know really what you are? And so like it'd be in the human sense, like if you were to think, well, I'm a flesh bag that wanders the earth versus then like, oh, I understand now what I really am. I am one of God's children, or something like that.
Hmm.
Like if you go to another, like then
Yeah.
your purpose changes. And so it's
Right.
made very literal in this. And what will that do when she finds out? But the other thing I think this show needs to do maybe is they risk having us care about humanity enough if there's no distinction between humanity and host. If a
Mhm.
host is, for all intents and purposes, just a better version of a human, what do
Right.
we care? Now, obviously, we can still care that the being shouldn't be controlled. That's an issue that still needs to be fixed. But in terms of really caring about humanity,
Yeah.
why?
Yeah, no, I completely agree because they've taken away our one kind of remaining touchstone that we've been familiar with. They've taken away Caleb in a beautiful plot twist. So
Yep.
good. So, so good. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they're doing with this. But yeah, like our kind of normal people we've taken away, and now we've got Frankie and I mean potentially her mom. Potentially, I don't really know, like, kind of where they're going with, like,
Right.
storylines and, time frames, but, we've got this, like, new crew of humans that we just got introduced to, essentially.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been with Frankie for a couple of episodes, but really a couple of episodes is not all that long, where we've had Caleb at least for an entire season. He's developed
Hmm.
relationships. Um, he was an analog for the entirety of humanity being controlled, and we watched his struggle to get out of that the entire last season. So, yeah,
Yep.
we're
Uh,
rapidly losing our human characters,
yeah.
and it's a problem that Westworld's obviously going to have to address if they're going to continue to talk about humanity.
Yep. Um, One thing I loved personally, at least the
Mhm.
way I saw it, is the
Besides the soundtrack, because go
yeah,
Metallica.
yeah. I no, I'm just loving the sounds in general. They
Oh,
really
I
went
agree.
more cyberpunk, more Mass Effect. The tone that controls people is really nice and
Yes.
satisfying. So
It was
that's
fun
in
it was a
general.
good, there was good switches between, being in temperance and out. I felt like those, like, kind of flowed
Yeah.
when we were in the Westworld park and when we weren't. I really
Hmm.
enjoyed the
Hmm.
20s music. I enjoyed the callbacks to, like, we're playing 20s style versions of popular songs, like, it was just all good fun.
Hmm. Um,
But yeah, sorry, go
it's
ahead.
no, it's I'm wondering like where I like that they to me this reflects reality in my world anyways, where the idea is I love the Hale's line that she was trying to control adults, but as they get older, they get kind of more
Mm,
stubborn.
yeah,
And
mhm.
so it took a generation. We had to start with the children that are more malleable. And that's how we take over the world. It's like, yep, you got to start with the kids. You got to get the kids first. And then if you want to change everything, that's where it goes. You're not going to
Well,
get other people. So,
it's such a familiar principle, that like they say that like adults are really stubborn. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Like
mhm,
adults are really set in their ways, and you have to get to kids because kids are just like sponges. They just soak it up and they can learn.
yep,
It's why like teaching a kid a language at a young age is so important because like it's just so much easier for the brain to get into that. So just it's a really great way to take a familiar concept and then turn it in a horrifying fashion.
yep,
So,
yep.
again, like, great writing here.
Mhm. It's like you say, it's a classic concept. It's in the book
Yeah,
1984. It's the same kind of
yeah.
thing where you just like you have to because adults have this thing where they've had experience and they start thinking for themselves a little bit and that kind of thing. And kids don't have that as much. So you got to get to them quick and early. So I like that this applied to the science of the flies as
Brain.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yep, the
And
science of the
then
brain, the science of the flies, yeah, that was good.
yeah. And then the question I had was, do you think so? Does everyone born have to be infected? Or if you're infected and you have children, are they then infected by default?
It's a good question, and I think they're going to have to answer it because it seems the the technology we understand right now that we've been exposed to seems to be that you still have to be infected, that you wouldn't just be born with it. But
Hmm.
Hale says, I've had a generation to perfect it. So maybe by now there's a way
Yeah,
that like it just passes on, but we haven't been exposed to that way yet.
right. Yep.
So I think there's something there that they still need to explain logistically. It doesn't have to be heavy-handed or like super involved. It just has to be like this is the way that I adapted it or whatever. Like
Yep.
whatever. But yeah, so thus far we have not seen anything that would suggest um that you would be born with it, because I mean, one might also wonder then how this group of humans that Frankie is with, we know Frankie wasn't born with it, but like what
Right.
about these other people? You know, how old are the people in this crew? Some of them seem older, some of them seem younger. Like would they have been born to people who are were already infected? We don't know any of their
Yeah.
backstories. So hopefully we'll maybe get some exploration through them.
Yep. Yep. All right. Well, any other thoughts?
Um, man, I don't think so. I think we covered like all of the big things
Yeah.
that I
We didn't
was
like
sort of
break down
thinking
each
about.
point that happened, but we covered the
Right.
important
Which is
themes and storylines happening.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I am kind of sorry, the one thing I did want to point out that I really liked in episode 3, and I'm thinking we're going to be flashing back to young Frankie and mom storyline. Um because I really liked the way that that Caleb's friend, I think his name was Carver, that was like helping them pack up and get out of Dodge and like get them out of town, ended up being infected. And it was like a good old fashioned like horror, somebody's in the house and we have to hide from them. It was very like simple, and I enjoy the simplicity of that plot line for a moment. Do you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, just like somebody is in the house, the kid has to go hide, the mom has a gun, she's got shaky hands. Is she gonna be able to do this? Like, oh, we're cutting away, like, oh, he's creeping around the house. Like, I know that, everybody's hiding somewhere. Like, what's gonna happen? It was just some really simple, effective storytelling, in my opinion.
Hmm.
And Westworld could give us some more of that to like balance out the very complex storylines that they're creating, and I would not be mad.
I
Also,
agree.
apparently mom knows how to shoot. Good job. You're good
Yeah.
for one thing, bitchy mom.
Yeah. I I will agree. I like the way the scene was done and stuff. I'm glad they only did you know, it becomes very common to like show the person that's hiding and then show the
Mhm.
person about to expose something,
Right.
presuming they're there, and then not. You can do it once. So they did it
Yes.
once.
Yeah.
Um, though I don't think he was controlled. I think he was a host copy and had eliminated the real one because we saw the
Right.
body in the dumpster and then he had blood
Right.
they got on the bear. So
Right.
unless
Right.
he's killed someone else,
Right. No,
that's the way I
totally,
read it.
totally. Yep, you're right, and I'm just remembering that now. I was sort of thinking at first, I remember thinking, before we saw the body, that he was gonna be like the senator's wife who was, like,
Yeah.
nuts and, like, carving up the dead horse, and she had blood on her, and he got blood on the bear, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my god, like, he's infected like she is," and then you're right, we saw the
Mhm.
double.
Yep.
So,
And
yeah.
those pieces are making more sense now. I'm
Yes.
appreciating that they set up this stuff for Bernard in the last season, and I'm appreciating that we had the person jump saying that, "Why are you writing this for me?" And we have like the
Yes.
crazy couple, like you're saying. So we're seeing the failed attempts in the past as they're working through the kinks. I like it. It's
Yep.
good.
Yep. Yeah, this is a well-planned, well-executed season, and it feels, even though the storyline is different, it feels more in the comfort zone of like seasons 1 and 2, where we feel a rhythm and we feel like the reveals are coming, and they're happening, but we still have like really excellent questions to ask.
Yep. Yep. All right.
All
Well,
right.
Westworld season 4, episodes 3 and 4. We'll be
Mhm.
back to talk about the other episodes in the coming weeks. Otherwise, that's been Popcast on the Rocks, episode 114. Please like, share, subscribe in all the places possible: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Those are the ones. And then follow
You
us here
nailed it.
on, yeah, follow us here on Twitch. That's perfect too. If you're just into the podcast format of things, that's fine. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever. Please leave a review. It'd be much appreciated. Killing the Flower, they're responsible for our theme song. And so you can go and check them out on Spotify, Instagram, and YouTube. And that'll about do it from us.
Mhm.
So, Andrea, thanks once again for joining me.
Of course. As always, cheers, everybody. Chug, chug.